Hey everyone, in the last video we built a discounted cash flow model step by step, but here's the truth, a DCF is only as good as the assumption behind it. So today we're going to talk about two powerful things: how to choose your key DCF assumption and how to run a sensitive analysis to test the impact of those assumptions on your valuation. So the first part I will talk about the key assumption in the DCF. So every DCF depends on a few key drivers. If you mess this up, your entire valuation could be off by billions. So let's go over the most important one. First, the revenue growth rate. This reflects how fast the company is expected to grow. Use historical growth, industry trends, and management guidance. For example, a SaaS, software as a service, startup might grow like 30 or 40%, while a major utility grows 2 or 3%. Then the operating margins, EBIT or EBITDA, indicate how effectively the company turns revenue into profits. Don't just assume margins will go forever. Look at historical trends, competitors' margins, and cost structures. Capital expenditures, CapEx. How much the company reinvesting in its business? And underestimate CapEx inflates cash flow. So check past spending habits, industry benchmarks, and future growth plans. Then the last one is working capital change. So it shows how much cash is tied up in the operation, usually a percentage of revenue based on days receivable, payable, inventory. Then the discounted rate, so the weighted average cost of capital. The discount rate reflects the risk of the business. A higher one is equal to more risk, but is equal to a lower value as well. Components of the weighted average cost of capital, where there is the cost of the debt, the capital structure, debt equity mix, and the cost of equity using this thing. Terminal growth rate or exit multiple. For the terminal value, use Gordon growth for stable companies, as we seen previously in the previous video, or use exit multiple based on comparable companies. Okay, so what is sensitivity analysis? Now that we've set our assumption, what if we're wrong? That's where sensitivity analysis come in. So you test how sensitive your valuation is too small to change in terminal growth, revenue growth, and margins, and weighted average cost of capital. You change the input slightly and track how the enterprise value or equity value changes. You usually display this in 2x2 or 5x5 grid, where one axis is weighted average cost of capital, like 8, 9, 10%, and the other axis is terminal growth, 1, 2, or 3%. And each cells show how the output value. So part 3, how to build one. Let's say you DCF use a weighted average cost of capital of 9% and terminal growth of 2%. Now you will build a table with the weighted average cost of capital from 8 to 10% and terminal growth from 1 to 3%. Each combination will give you a different valuation. So this helps you to answer if my weighted average cost of capital or growth is slightly off, how big the impact is. It's also great for showing investor or stakeholders that you've through the risk. And the last part is interpreting the result. Here, what sensitivity analysis teach you. If small change in weighted average cost of capital or growth lead to big swings in valuation, your company is very sensitive and assumptions matter a lot. If changes don't impact your model is robust and the company is likely stable. So now that you know how to pressure test your valuation and make a smarter assumption, in the next video we're jumping into a precedent transaction, a real-world M&A valuation method that looks at what others paid for similar company. Thank you.